Hello, everybody. Would you like to beat your fears? Would you like to finally take control of those fears and kind of step into your courage? Yeah. If that resonates with you, that's what I'm going to talk about in today's recording. Let's talk about fear to start with. Let's talk about what it is. Afterwards, I'm going to do a hypnotic guided meditation. So maybe you want to prepare yourself for that. Find yourself somewhere where you won't be disturbed, but maybe even anticipate how great it's going to feel. But let's start with a discussion about what fear is. And I'm not talking about debilitating fears here. I'm not talking about phobias. I'm talking about overactive risk managers that are stopping you from going for whatever it is that you want to go for, from doing whatever it is that apparently you want to do, but because it feels like there's a part of you which doesn't, which prefers to stay where you are. And for me, I've told you this many times, I believe that all emotions are just messengers. They have a use. And so for me, a fear-based emotion, a message, I'm scared, is a protective mechanism. It's something, it's just trying to keep you safe. Even sometimes the current situation, if you don't like the current situation, may feel safer than the unknown. And so you get this, this fear that comes up. So there's loads and loads of ways that you can deal with fear. But for me, the most useful by far, and if you have a look, you can look. I've done a few videos on different aspects of fear, but you can reframe fear. You can make the fear absurd. You can talk to it like it's a great friend and ask what its protective mechanism is. But for me, the most important, the number one thing, and this is kind of the core message of this book by Susan Jeffers, Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway, is that you cannot resolve a fear without taking a step forward. So, what we're trying to do in our minds is prepare ourselves to take a step forward. If we can kind of box in the risks, if we can get ourselves prepared for the conclusion, then we'll take the action. And in practice, unfortunately, the way that it works is the complete flip of that. We take an action, almost any tiny, tiny step forward that is within the context of whatever is unknown and therefore fearful. And then we kind of check ourselves and realize that we're still here and go, huh. The fear departs the second you take the step forward. It cannot depart in advance through any amount of mental shenanigans. Because what you're trying to do is get yourself prepared, okay? But you're preparing for the unknown. The reason why it's scary is because it's unknown. So you might be able to go down the route of, okay, well, if my catastrophe occurs, then that is what I would do, something like that. But you're still going to be scared of the catastrophe because that's the nature of the beast. So the way to, or the way at least for me to conceptualize the whole idea of fears and bring them on side is by saying, look, I want to get over there. I want to do something. I want to resolve something. I want to fix something. But I've not quite worked out how to do it yet because by definition, I won't know the result until I've tried it. And there's a whole variety of things that might work, but all of them have consequences that I can't predict. And so part of me wants to keep me safe by keeping me where I am. That's a given. That's just human nature. We are a risk management machine. So my choice, therefore, is to give in to that and to stay where I am and never make progress and never understand. And if I want, pretend to myself that I'm kind of preparing myself and that maybe I'll learn something new and that that will help me, but that in actual fact, I'm deluding myself. And the truth is, I'm not doing anything. Okay, so what people tend to do is they tend to think that by taking action, they are making a decision and that that might have a consequence. But it's equally valid to say, well, if I'm not taking action, I'm also making a decision not to act, and that will also have consequences. Maybe the boat will pass, right? The boat will sail. Depends upon what it is that you're thinking about. But you're going to end up getting more of what you've got if you don't change what you're doing. So understand the mental predicament and then say to yourself, okay, so am I happy staying where I am? If I am, if that's tolerable, own it. If I'm not, I want to go towards whatever it is. I want to take a step forward, but that is scary. Okay, own the scariness. So you can have the conversation with the scariness. See if you can make friends with it. You can reframe the scariness as stage fright, excitement, opportunity, the unknown, whatever might help. You can do things, and I've said this on other videos, like visualizing the scary thing and putting it in a TV and shrinking the TV down to the size of a postage stamp, or sucking the color out of it and making it black and white, and then turning the contrast down on the picture so that it's all black or all white. Or you could hear the catastrophe running in your ears and turn the volume all the way down to 0. Or you can find the place in your brain where the little needle is that says stress, 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 stress when I think about this, and you can turn the dial down on that. You can do any manner of sort of metaphorical shifts in your mind so that you can play with the idea of what you think the fear is and shift it to something else, do a reframe. But for me, number one, the most important by far, before I do any of that, is to say, look, a fear is an unsolvable conundrum in advance. The fear is there at its gut level because I'm talking about something which is unknown. That's just real, that's just valid. And I will never fix that until I experience the unknown. So, what can I do to take a small step, which is less consequential, but that I am prepared to take? Because the only way that I'm going to find out what I don't know is by doing. Right? So, as I say, the experiential sense of living through a fear is that the second you take action, the second you push through and do something, anything, that's when the fear disappears. Because what's happened is you've then got feedback, you've then got information. Now, that information could be great or it could be bad, right? So what you're trying to do is take a step forward, which is so small that you can live with the consequence and accept it as feedback. So in the Feel Your Fear and Do It Anyway book, effectively what she's saying is everything is information. If I make an action and it goes wrong, well, at least I know what doesn't work. So that is still progress from today. If I'm lucky, I'll take action and it'll work better than I thought, or the bad things I were concerned about didn't occur. Therefore, not only have I made progress, but I can then learn from that and continue down the path. But if you can imagine the idea of, you're on one side of a stream and you want to get to the other side of the stream, and there's a whole series of stones in the stream, any one of which potentially can help you to get across the stream. Some of them are going to be more direct, some of them are going to be less direct. Some of them, when you stand in them, it turns out they're going to be a bit wobbly. Others are going to be very, very well stable, well stood. But you're not going to know until you try. So you have to accept the possibility that you could stumble, you could slip, you might end up getting your foot wet. But you either stay on this side of the river and accept that, or you take a little step forward, you find the nearest stone, which looks very, very safe, but that will get you closer to looking at the other stones, so that then you can look at the next stone and see which of those appears to be the most stable, and putting a very gingerly foot onto it and testing, seeing is it stable or is it not, and then withdrawing if need be, so you can course correct. But by taking the step, that's the moment when you go, and then you get information and you deal with the information. The alternative is basically paralysis. You stay where you are and get nowhere. That's absolutely fundamental for me. So in order to get out of your funk, whatever it may be, whatever the conflict or conundrum or query or problem or state or anxiety or whatever the fixed idea is which is in your way, the only way, it's like moving a rusty hinge. It's not going to loosen by thinking about it. It loosens by taking action, by dropping a little drop of oil on there. You can find the smallest possible step, but that's the way to do it. Okay, so if you take that as your premise, that's where you begin from. This fear is not going to go away until I make an action. You can also then attack the fear. Okay, so look at the fear straight on. You see how I automatically kind of visualized it? That was amusing. So you encapsulate the fear, embody the fear, make it a thing if you can, putting out in front of you if you can. Give it a shape, give it a structure, give it a movement, give it a color, give it a name, give it something that you can disassociate from yourself and objectify and look at. Because when your fear is here, it feels really big and it feels like you. If you can give it a sense of itself, some kind of an objectification and put it out, well, then you're already looking at it as a thing rather than as you. So it loses some of its potency. Okay. Ask it what it wants. Ask it what it's trying to do. Ask it if it's got any good ideas. Have a sort of a conversation with it. But I've done a video on psychological illusion. So what I would do is when you conceptualize the guts of the fear, ask yourself, okay, when I'm thinking of that fear, when am I? It might sound a bit absurd, but when am I? Because I promise you, you're not in the present moment. You either looking forward, worrying about something in the future, or you are reminding yourself of something in the past that went wrong and applying it to your worry. If it's something which is in the future, by definition, it is not occurring right now. So you are projecting something, a potential future, and making it feel like it's now. So telling yourself that, explaining to yourself that this is a mental construct that your mind is labeling and making you feel, and you're forgetting that it's just a thought, that it's just a potential future, and you're making it feel like it's you now, because when we vividly imagine something, we can't tell the difference between reality and that vividly imagined thing. So if you can tell yourself this is not occurring now, this is a thought about the future, but by definition it's not occurring, because if it were occurring, believe you me, your thoughts would be entirely different. They would be much more practical, much more robust. So that can make the fear evaporate because it's not really occurring, right? So you can look at it in this objectifying state. If it's in the past, if you're reminding yourself that, look, you did something in the past and it had a consequence that you didn't anticipate, for example, or that was just plain wrong. Even if you did anticipate it, it was just wrong. Well, then that is feedback. So then what you do with that is you thank it and you say to yourself, all right, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do something different. But the only way to learn what's right is by trying something else. Okay? So this idea of psychological illusion can be very, very powerful. When a fear takes you over, you are forgetting that it's a thought. and you're making it a part of your identity, a part of your reality, a part of your now. In reality, you didn't choose that thought. That thought occurred, and then you gave it significance. So much like the kind of stoical approach, what significance do you want to give to that? Is it even real? You know, I talk a lot in other ones about what is consciousness and what is the thought, because in actual fact, it appears more as if our understanding of ourselves is more like a monitor screen where words kind of appear than any kind of act of choice bringing these thoughts to you. So the whole idea is a labeling, a metaphorical story creation that our mind is dancing with, but that isn't real. So you can use psychological illusion, but never let go of this idea that you must take an action in order to release the fear. And then finally, you can go down this route of reframing. Right? There's 1,001 different ways where you can reframe, depending upon how you reverberate with the fear. Play with that. So, however the fear seems largest, maybe you can see it. Maybe it's really close up to you, right in front of you. Maybe you hear it. Maybe you feel it in your gut. Whatever it is that you feel, ask it what it wants and give it that. You know, if it's a color, ask it what color it would rather be and bathe that in it. I want to be a soft pink color. Flooded in a soft pink color. You know, it sounds absurd because it's stories inside your mind, but it is changing the current story in your mind in order that you feel more capable to take that bite-sized chunk. Anything that allows you to take that bite-sized chunk and get feedback, that is how you make progress. Okay. Um, let's do this little hypnotic induction. Okay, let's give us a um, an out of front of mind method for dealing with this. Okay, so I'm just going to hypothesize to myself with you that you have an issue that you wish to resolve. There is a goal that you have in mind, but there is a part of you that is chaining you in the other direction. Okay. All I'd like you to do, and you can go if you're well versed with hypnosis and self-hypnosis, go there. If you're not, frankly, just close your eyes, listen to my words, and play with your imagination. Okay, the depth of trance is not important in this at all. The depth of trance would simply um, deliver a different level of personal involvement and personal enjoyment. But the end result, the fruits of this, are going to be exactly the same as long as you engage in it with your imagination. So just imagine. But what I would suggest is, so find yourself somewhere safe, find yourself somewhere quiet where you won't be disturbed, where you're not going to feel self-conscious that other people are watching you, that you've just got a bit of privacy. And get in mind whatever it is that you're afraid of, that's your conflict or fear, and close your eyes. Let's do this well. Let's take in a good deep breath and hold the breath and let that breath go. Nice and slow. And maybe you can already notice your body becoming still. And maybe even your heart rate slowing. Taking another good deep breath. Hold the breath. And when you're ready, exhale very gently. As if you can make your exhale twice as long as your inhale, and you can become aware of your surroundings, and you can notice the support of the chair or the bed. You can become aware of the sensations around you. You can become aware of the stillness. of your body. Starting to feel really good. Starting to feel at ease. If you want, taking a third good deep breath. Hold that breath. And when you're ready, just really slowly exhale. Breathing out any tension. And then what I'd like you to do when you're ready, and you can kind of keep on, you don't need to breathe too consciously, but if you wish, you can be aware of your breath, breathing in peace, breathing out tension, becoming aware of the air around you, the temperature, the stillness of your muscles, the simplicity of your mind. And what I would like you to do, if your eyes aren't closed, close your eyes now. Put your hands out in front of you, wherever feels comfortable. So your elbows are kind of at 90 degrees, like a right angle, but you can see your hands, and you can cup your hands almost as if you were able to carry a tennis ball in each of those hands. Palms up. You can receive some love from the universe. And what I'd like you to do is to put your mind, okay, put your thinking mind in one hand. And that might be the right hand, or it might be the hand that's left. Whichever feels right for you, I want you to put your mind in that hand. And then I want you to put your body, your feeling sense in the other hand. And get in touch with each. Maybe you can notice a different sensation in the skin of the palm of your hand. Maybe one feels heavier than the other. Maybe you can almost see them in your mind's eye. Maybe there's a difference in temperature. Maybe one is moving, maybe both are moving, maybe one's still. Get in touch with each. See how each of them, your mind in one and your body in the other, see how each is behaving, interacting. Maybe it's speaking, maybe it's moving, maybe it's making gestures. Feel it and listen. Become one with each. Become one with both. Permit them just to be, and let their stories come up. Listen to it, listen to them, clear them, accept it. Accept it as a sort of an energy, as if it has a certain potency. It's neither good nor bad. And as you breathe in and you breathe out, feeling everything that you're feeling, checking in with them, each of them in turn, like you might check in with a friend. Just, how are you doing? What's going on? And noticing what you're noticing. Noticing the significance in that. And once you're familiar with that understanding, with that awareness, once the stories have come through, once you understand their perspectives, how about you bring your hands close together and see what happens. Just see what happens. Notice what you notice. Maybe you want to bring them a little apart again. Let go a little. You know, like I said before, with the stream, with the stepping stones, and the water and the steam just in the stream just flows over the rocks. Give those two parts the freedom, just like a rock in the stream, observing and noticing, allowing, letting go of your need to push, and just let it be and observe. Trust it. Trust what's going on. Any progress is progress. And ask them when you're bringing them close together, how does it feel? And maybe you notice a felt sensation in your hands, and maybe if you move them away, it feels different. And ask, how about if we actually bring the hands together, completely together? And if that feels right for you, bring them together, press the palms together, wrap your fingers together. And try and get that old feeling back and notice how it's just gone. And maybe you can even imagine a certain solidity in your core as you hold those hands together, very simply. See how that feels. The point is, and you can open your eyes, you can shake off that sensation, you can do whatever it is that you need to do. Maybe it's quite a releasing moment. In so doing, what you're noticing is that you can move that rusty hinge a little bit, that you're not entirely stuck, that you're always in the midst of change. And something as simple as imagining that your mind is in one hand, your body is in the other hand, and then bringing the hands together can create a shift in your feeling. And any movement is good because it means something is happening, something is shifting. And it can bring about a growing sense of awareness. So I hope some of that is useful, okay? I hope it's all useful in actual fact, because they're all separate ways of conquering fear, of actually taking a step into your courage. You may find, if you bring your hands together, that you have a broader sense of self, a broader sense of your purpose, of what it is to be you, maybe even a broader sense, a more communicative sense of relating with yourself. If that's the case, you may be able to take the step forward to, what is my role? What is my part in the rich dance of life? And who am I to stunt myself? Surely, if my feeling, if my heart, if my soul, if my gut, if my mind, if my essence wants progress towards whatever it is, who on earth am I with this little chattering part of my mind to to stumble, to get in the way of that, based around a fixed idea, which is frankly a story, metaphor. So you may actually be able to bring your sort of higher self, your higher good, to bear on that fear. So what you're doing is you're kind of rubbing away the foundations of the fear. You're questioning the validity of the fear altogether. You're understanding that the only way to shift the fear is by taking an action. You're giving yourself a um, a carrot in front of you, a sort of a goal in front of you, which is partly you, but partly larger than you, partly ethereal. And you're chunking down to the point where you can take a step, one of those stepping stones in the river, the one which appears closest and safest, and gingerly taking a foot out and seeing if it's stable, and if it's not, getting feedback and then taking action based upon that. And that is the way to push beyond your fears, step by step, because you receive feedback, you receive information, you course correct when you need to, but you make progress. Ta-da! That's it. You've got your courage, you've got your story aligned with your goal, and then you're like a steam train. All right, I hope that's useful. If it is, go check out the others. I've got quite a lot of videos which are sort of practical like that, and then I've got a whole load which are much more ethereal and existential. But thank you very much for watching. Subscribe, and look out for some new videos. Cheers. Bye.